Okay, you're showing a lot of work.
Yeah.
If you didn't, if you clean there, you know what you do there. Everybody was covering it. Yeah, and it was the engine.
Yeah, so then, otherwise,
Yeah. Hello, Chris. Pleased to meet you. You're Chris
Wedgwood, yeah.
Wedgwood.
Yeah.
And I'm Peter Bella. And this is yours.
Mine and my brother's, I
Your
suppose.
brother's,
Yeah.
right? It's a family vehicle.
A family vehicle.
So we're interviewing another family lorry, wagon,
Yeah.
I should say.
Yeah.
With 2 Gs.
Yeah, so
Right.
I've done the sort of the legwork to get it out of Argentina and get it home, and my brother's in business with me, and between us we've financed it and sorted that side out. So it's a joint effort between me and my brother now.
Yeah. So actually getting them back,
Yeah.
why did they go in the first place?
Well, they went after Sentinels had finished making steam wagons by a long time, so I think the last steam wagon in the day was about 37.
Yeah.
This order was 48, 49, and the wagons were delivered in 50 and possibly early 51. And they were to fill a gap between a railway that hadn't quite made its destination at a coal mine and the requirement of moving the coal. So the Argentinian government ordered 100 wagons, and it would appear they got 98 eventually.
98, oh right. So do we know what happened to the other 2?
Potentially, we've heard today from a guy that was an apprentice here that they were taken to a dealer and potentially converted to right-hand drive and to diesel propulsion.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's not corroborated, but it's a possibility.
Yes, yeah.
But, in the midst of time, you get lots of stories, don't
Well,
you?
yes, there's been a lot of mysteries and myths about these wagons over the years. So, Chris, this is the engine. What's different about this to the S-types?
Well, when you look at it very quickly, you think it's exactly the same, and then you start looking and actually very little is the same. By the time this wagon was built in the 50s, they've got hydraulic brakes had come along, as against the earlier wagons were just 2 steam cylinders that literally pulled the brakes on. So there's a pump at the back for powering the hydraulic brakes. Also, the earlier wagons, the speedo was literally a belt taken off the prop shaft at the back there, whereas this actually has a gear actually in the gearbox,
right,
much more like a
conventional
commercial vehicle.
Yes, yeah.
Then we've got the earlier wagons, the tippers were proper hydraulic, as in water hydraulic, whereas this now in the 50s is oil hydraulic, and it's got an oil hydraulic pump here which is able to go in and out of gear. And also the engine lubrication system is a lot better than it was. The sump is actually in a slightly different place on this engine with a better oil pump. So when you look at it, you think, oh, there's an S4 engine, but in actual fact it is very different.
Yeah. So what is this different from?
Yeah, this is a siphon to any condensation that gets inside the engine ultimately ends up under the oil in the sump, and it's a siphon, and it literally allows the water in the bottom of there to come out, but without taking the oil out as well. And you can see it working there at the moment.
Yes, yeah. Because one of the myths was that this flywheel was at the front of the engines.
Yeah, I think that must be a myth.
Well,
because
yes.
it wouldn't have done what it's supposed to do at the front of the engine, and I can't see any reason why you would do it.
Now, I was told 40-something years ago that all those Argentinian ones had the flywheels at the front.
Yeah, maybe somebody put the engine in backwards.
Well, there again, you don't know, do you? So, there's some diesel parts that are on this wagon, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, the braking system was contemporary with the diesel lorries of the day.
Yes.
The lighting system was all CAV, and I think that was pretty similar. As you would, why would you reinvent the wheel?
Well, yes.
And the spare wheel carrier. This actually doesn't belong on this wagon. You kindly brought it along today to have a look how similar it was to a diesel one, and the spare wheel goes on here, and a wire rope on here which went up to the top of the cab, and you actually turns the wheel in order to winch it down, because obviously it's very, very heavy.
Yes.
And then the wheel would end up on the floor where you could manage it, and that's a very similar part to the diesel as well.
Yes, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
This looks very, very similar to the ordinary, you know, S-type. All this lot is pretty much the same, except till we get here. Well, this is the Lockheed hydraulic servo brakes.
That's similar to the diesels.
Similar to the diesels,
yeah.
but obviously not similar to the steamers of the day.
No.
Water pump's exactly the same. The top end of the engine is exactly the same, I would say.
Yeah.
Just the brakes being the main difference there.
So you've got those levers that come across that cross member there. That's not
yeah.
there.
So there should be a cross member here, which we obviously replace, and then the cross member was the same height as this, and there was a hydraulic tank here for the tipping gear. And there was a pair of levers that were here, which one engaged the hydraulic pump and one actually operated the hydraulics up and down. And there's a valve here so that you could run the engine from this position. So from here you could run the engine and tip the body all in one here. You'd have to make sure the wagon was out of gear though, or it would drive off.
It would drive off, yeah.
Okay, so this is very similar to the ordinary S-Type, except it's left-hand drive. Pedal layout is different. In fact, the throttle or the regulator is actually in the middle here. Typically, on the earlier S-types, the throttle is actually on the left and the brakes on the right. This is more conventional, except of course this is the throttle, brakes, and then this is a steam cut-off to use the engine as a compressor in reverse. High and low gears, forward and reverse here, and mid-gear is holding all the valves open. Handbrake, and then we've got a master cut-off here that cuts all the steam off. Blower to bring the fire up. Water and steam for the injector, and of course you can't quite see it there, but the glass showing the water level. Much more modern speedo than on the earlier wagons. Obviously being in the 50s, we've got steam pressure, engine oil pressure, and hydraulic pressure for the brakes, and then the speed.
You want to take the white swing to get back in front? Keep going up. Alright? Yeah. Keep going up. Yeah, keep that up. You find on your back right, away. You find on your back then, front end, you're going to get through. Bring it to me a little bit if you want. Hold the front end. Yeah. Keep going, you're going to clear it. Yeah. That's it, keep going. Yeah. So bring it to me a little bit. Right up there. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. Straight like that. It's just as long as you go back, try it through the door. You wing it. Straight up, straight up.
Yeah, she had to be coming in. Way down,